The first quarter of the year is over. You are almost 100 days in, believe it or not. I think April the 10th, that's just a couple of days away, going to be 100 days in. And today, it's Wednesday, and we're doing a check-in as we are chasing greatness this year. We set out at the beginning of the year for this to be our best year ever, we said. And man, a lot of you have been on this journey with us, and we're pumped to have this conversation today with you. So it's going to be a special episode. Again, welcome to Chasing Greatness. Thank you for joining us for our conversation each week. And today, it's just going to be you and me. I mean, it's like literally us, nobody else, no guests, nobody's going to come in here. I'm going to bring you into my personal meeting. I've never done this before with a group of people, but literally it's just going to be, I'm going to give you a chance to evaluate your first 100 days of the year. We got a new president a few months ago now, and I know the media the next few days is going to be talking about the first 100 days, all that kind of thing. We're not political here at all. It's just not something we talk about, but I know it's going to be all over the news. They're going to be talking about 100 days, and there's a reason. It's a good round number. I like that. I really do. As we enter quarter two of the year, I do think it's a very important time for us to calibrate. If you're not careful, you'll just kind of glide on into the next couple months. Next thing you know, it'll be summer, and then you'll be thinking, well, I'll get to it next year as you get into the fall. So today we're not doing that. We are going to lock down. We're going to do some evaluating. We're going to think through our year. And I tell you what I did. I brought my plan with me. I started with a plan at the beginning of the year. Please tell me you're not just winging it this year. You're not just hoping that things are going to go great for you. We say hope is not a strategy. You don't hope your way to high performance. You behave your way there. And so today we're gonna actually, unfortunately, have to look at some areas where we're not behaving based on what we said we're going to do. And then there's some areas where we're literally crushing some of the things we said we're going to do. So I'm going to share some of that with you. And I'm going to challenge you at the end to do the same thing. I mean, or to schedule a meeting with yourself just like this. I'm on the porch. It's actually kind of loud out here. My neighbor's over there, got his chainsaw out. It's in the afternoon here. He's cutting down trees, I guess, or something. He's doing yard work. Thankfully, I don't have that on my plan. Not something. I did mow the grass this weekend. That was great. We had Easter. It was fantastic. I'm outside. I'm excited. The weather's good here in Atlanta. It's Masters week. I'm going to watch way too much golf this next weekend. It's going to be fantastic, but it's going to be 100 days into the year. And this is a time to really evaluate how am I doing as I go into halftime here. Next couple months is going to get me to the midpoint in the year. And then hopefully we'll be positioned to do some of the things this year that we wanted to do. So let's take a look at this. Let's go through some areas. And I brought with me 6 questions that I'm going to be honest right up front. I'm supposed to be asking myself these 6 questions every day. I actually have that written in my plan to ask yourself these 6 questions every day. And I'll just start right out of the gate and say there have been some days where I haven't asked myself these questions. And man, these are great focus questions. I think they'll be helpful to you. So let me go through them. The first one is this question. And by the way, let me just say, I don't just ask one question. When I ask a question, I actually kind of build a couple of things in there. But the first one is about this idea of vision or clarity to just keep me focused on what I'm trying to do and why I'm trying to do it. And so here's the question I ask myself. Why am I here? What am I trying to accomplish? And why does it matter? I mean, I just want to start every day with that question. Why am I here? What is it that I'm trying to accomplish? And why does that matter? I mean, if I'm trying to if I understand why I'm here and here's what I'm trying to do, but what I'm trying to do really doesn't matter. And there are days when you think, man, if I do this, does this really matter? I think that's a great question. So that's that clarity question. Here's another question I ask myself every day, and I'll get into some specifics of how I'm measuring these things as I go in a second. As you do your check-in, these questions might be helpful to you as well. I'll try to get our team to put these in the show notes here, but maybe we'll build you a PDF. I don't know. I probably should check with them before I just start saying stuff. But here's the deal. The second question is about my physical energy. It's about capacity. It's about just how I'm doing emotionally, some of those kind of things. So here's my question. Am I spiritually, mentally, physically, and emotionally fit to lead? Am I spiritually, mentally, physically, and emotionally fit to lead? If I'm not fit to lead, it's going to be really hard for me to add value to the people around me. And I've got to be fit. I got to be spiritually fit. My soul needs to be in a good place. I need to be mentally fit. I need to be growing and thinking and trying to really just give myself some things that are going to challenge me, stimulate me mentally. Physically, I need to be working out. I need to be taking care of myself. I need to be hydrating, resting, all those things. We'll get to some of those. And then emotionally, am I fit to lead emotionally? Am I depressed and am I, down and negative and critical? Or do I have we've used this word before, do I have a buoyancy to me that gives me energy to be able to add value to the people around me, not just suck the life out of them? There have been a couple of instances lately where I just wasn't emotionally where I needed to be. I wasn't as engaged as I needed to be, and I sucked life out of some people rather than adding value to them. And so these questions help me to come back and, really ask the question that or help me to point back to what I need to be thinking about. Here's another question. This is the third one. This one's important to me. You get to decide what questions are important to you. But here's a question I ask myself as it relates to my purpose in life, and that is this question: am I bringing glory to God? We just had Easter weekend. That was a great weekend for people of faith, and yet I don't want to just live my life one day a year where you go to church on Easter. You go maybe you're 2 times a year. You go on Easter and Christmas, but I want to make sure that my life every day is bringing glory to God and honor to my family. So I want to ask myself that question every day: am I bringing glory to God and am I bringing honor to my family? There's an old Bible verse that says a good name is worth more than great riches. And I think the way we live our lives, the name that we have that's associated with that's important. So I want to bring glory to God. I want to bring honor to my family. Here's another one. When I think about this idea of the work that I do, I ask myself every day, I want to ask myself this question: does my work matter to the world? It kind of goes back up to what I said a minute ago. Why does it matter? But does my work matter to the world? Is it making the world a better place? Is my work causing problems? Is it solving problems? And I think that's a good problem or a good question for us to ask ourselves. Does my work matter to the world? When you wake up every day, are you doing something that matters? I hope so. Here's another question. And I think it just kind of builds on this last one. Does my work add value to leaders based on their needs? And so when I think about you in particular in this environment, is the things that I'm talking about, or the things that I'm doing, are they adding value to you based on your needs, based on where you are, what you're struggling with, what you're challenged with? Are they solving some of those problems for you? If it's just really what I want to talk about, I'm not sure that's going to add much value. It really needs to be what people need to hear, not what I want to say. And so I want to make sure that when I think about influence, I think about impact, I think about leveraging, an audience and a voice and all those kind of things. I want to make sure my work is adding value to leaders based on their needs. And then here's the last one. And this is a question that I just want to push myself to be courageous in my leadership and ask myself this question. Try every single day to ask myself, do I diligently lead with passion and a bias for action in spite of fear? And I want to unpack that just a second and just say, I don't really feel like I struggle with fear a lot. People around me would tell you I'm kind of I just don't meet a lot of situations where I'm like, I'm afraid of this and what would happen. I'm actually too confident sometimes. I'm just like, just go, let's do this, we'll figure it out. But I do want to make sure that I recognize that there can be insecurity, there can be all kinds of things that are driving my motivations and all those kind of things. And I want to lead with passion, and I want to have a bias for action. I want to show up every week. I want to make the video in this case. I want to write the content. I want to speak to the audience with passion. I love going into a room and I just challenge myself to care more about their work than they do. That's a problem, actually, if I do care more about the work than the people that I'm speaking to. But I ask them sometimes, please tell me that I don't care more about this than you do. I want to make sure they are walking away from one of those events knowing this guy really cares about us and about what we're doing, and he's trying to help us get better. And so those questions really help me. So the big question is, so how am I doing? When I think about some of the things that I'm trying to do, one of the things I said is I'm trying to review these questions every day. And man, I would say I'm struggling there. It's a B- at best. I'm just like, some days I'm looking at them, some days I'm not. The thing is, you get them over and over, you read them over and over, and you begin to memorize the questions, you begin to know the questions. And yet it is a great discipline to sit down every day to read the questions, to review the questions, to remind you of why they're important. And there's times when I haven't done that this year. So I would say maybe I'll give myself a C there. I'm going to grade pretty hard as an old school teacher. I'm going to give myself not so good there. I do have also what I call a daily core 4 habits that I try to live by. And so I would ask you, I'm going to share mine with you, but I'm going to ask you to think through what would your core 4 be. If you had 4 things that were going to be your habits, are going to be your rituals, if you want to think of it even that way, there are routines if you want to back off a little bit, and it may not be ritualistic for you, but when I think about these 4, these 4 are huge for me. They're really kind of the foundation of my day when I think about it. And the first one is, and if you took the course, the 21 days course, we taught a module on this and we talked about this, but we talked about winning the first hour of the day. And that's my number one core thing. I want to win the first hour of the day. And in my first hour of the day, I spend time reading the Bible, and I spend time praying, and I spend time reading. And I would say, I would give myself a really good grade here. I really do think I've had the best first hour of the day this year for the first 100 days that I have ever in my whole life. It's just been fantastic. I'll tell you more about that in just a second, but that's core habit number 1. I think if you don't win the first hour, you have no chance of winning all the hours. But if you win the first one, you're kind of set up for your day in a really good way. So that winning the first hour of the day to me is really important. What's your number 1 core habit? What would it be for you? Is it something about that first hour? Is it something about a relationship? Something about the way you think about your work, your routines, your working out, whatever it would be. But what is that core habit? And my second core habit that I'm trying to strive for, and I'm not going to give myself an A here. I'll go kind of B here, and I'll tell you why in a second. But the second one is I want to win the last hour of the day. If I win the first hour and win the last hour, and this year I'm really trying to do some things a little bit differently. I'm trying to make sure I sleep 7 or more hours every night. I've done pretty good there. But the second thing that I have on this little section that is a way I can measure this is I just say I wanted to try to de-screen more. And there have been so many nights where I have still had a screen on after sundown. We talk about and I've heard people talk about before, a digital sunset. When the sun goes down, turn your screens off, spend time with the people around you. And there have been times where my wife and I will spend time watching a TV show, or we'll spend time on a computer, and that's not always a great thing. And so I don't know that I'm winning the last hour of the day like I want to. I do know there's some things I need to recalibrate as I go into the second quarter of the year, and maybe we'll do a halftime. We'll probably do a halftime episode once we get past June, get into the summer. But there's some things I need to do differently. I was in a home just a couple of days ago, and a guy had a charging station that was not in his bedroom. I still have a place where I charge my phone in my bedroom, and I shouldn't even do that. I try not to be on my phone, and I definitely don't want my phone to be the first thing I look at when I wake up in the morning. I want natural light to come in. But when you think about these things, again, I'm just kind of letting you under the hood here. And to me, these are 2 things that are really core. Win the first hour, win the last hour. There's a couple other things in that. The third one for me is that I'm trying to, and it's a physical one. I want to eat less than 2,000 calories every day, or at 2,000 calories every day. It's not because it's just kind of what I try to do. I mean, I'm trying to eat healthy. I'm trying to have a healthy nutrition plan. It's been important to me for 30 years or more, and so I just am trying to. I put a calorie goal down this year. I've never done that before, but I'm just like I want to make sure. But I also have on that a healthy nutrition plan. I want to make sure I'm eating not just the right amount of food, but I'm eating the right kinds of food. And so I've worked on my nutrition. I'm trying to eat clean there. I really am a big believer in what you put into your body is going to have a lot to do with what comes out as far as your fuel and your energy and your strength and all those kind of things. And so I think it's just like gas in a car. You put in junk, it's going to cause problems. I just had a fuel pump go out on my truck about 3 weeks ago, and $1,200 later, it was a nightmare. But part of it had to do, they told me, part of it had to do with what's going on in the fuel tank. Actually, I don't know how this all works. It sounded, plausible, but I don't know. If you're a car guy, you probably think I'm crazy. I don't know. But here's what I do know. I know the kind of gas you put in, and and the way you take care of your engine is going to have a lot to do with your vehicle. And the same is true with your body. It may be even more so with your body. I think we take for granted all the time the things we eat. And, if you eat garbage, you're going to probably feel like garbage. And so some of you, maybe as you go into the second quarter of your year, you need to recalibrate the way you're thinking about your nutrition. There's some areas where I need to make some changes as well. And so I would just encourage you to do that. And then the last one is my fourth core habit is this idea of exercise. And I've got 3 areas here. I try to lift some, I try to move some, I try to stretch some. I'm not into bodybuilding and all that kind of, I don't give a rip about that stuff. But I do want to be strong. I do want to be able to move. I do want to be able to have mobility. I guess movement, same thing there. But I want to stretch. I want muscles to be pliable. Those kind of things. I got a long way to go there, but there are some things that I have that are measurable targets in all these areas, and one of them is that physical area. And I would say one of the areas that I've not done as good as I wanted to is I had built in here this year some extra walks that I was going to try to go on. And I'm coming out of the winter, and it's the weather here's been great, but I guess I've kind of used that as an excuse, which is just weak. And so I have a mileage goal every week, and I've really been about 60% of where I want to be. Thankfully, get on the golf course and you can walk 4 or 5 miles at a time when you walk around the golf. And I try to do that once or twice a week. But I'm trying to have my best year ever, reach. And there've been some really good years in the past, and so I'm just like, I'm not where I need to be there. So that would be one of those areas. But I'll give you a couple other areas where I've had some targets, and I just want to challenge you to think about some of your targets. Are there places where you need to up your game going into the second quarter? There are some places where I have upped my game in the first quarter. Actually, I got into the first quarter, and I was doing a Bible reading plan this year that it was a unique plan that I'd never done before, with some intro videos on all the books as I read them, and I was watching those, and I just got so interested in those, and I was reading those books of the Bible actually faster than what I ever had before. I was kind of, I've done some study there in the past, and I usually do more devotional reading, but this has been a little bit more, I guess this has been devotional reading in some ways, but I've been reading more every day, trying to get a better understanding of the arc of the Bible, and, just who we are as human beings, who God is, how we love each other, how we take care of each other, all those kind of things. And it's been really interesting to do that. And man, I found myself making so much progress really fast. And so I actually am on track. In just a couple of days, I will finish the Bible for this year. That sounds impressive if you've never read the Bible in a whole year, because it's a big, thick book, and it seems like it's really hard to get through. But truthfully, it takes about, I think if you Google this, I think it's about 78 hours that you can read it out loud. You can read the Bible. And so in 100 days, it's a little less than an hour a day that I've spent there. But that 45 minutes a day has really helped my mind and heart. It's calibrated good, and I've never read the whole Bible in 100 days. This is going to be really cool. And it's actually positioned me now to be able to double down and to do some things in the second half of the year. I've got a buddy of mine who did this Bible reading plan called the Shred Plan. I found it, and this is kind of crazy. It's like read the whole Bible in 30 days. So I'm debating that. I probably shouldn't even say that publicly, but I'm debating that at some point later in the year. And then I'm going to try to at least read it one more time this year, maybe even beyond that. So never read it twice in a year. This is going to be kind of cool. I'm going to go for that. So that's an area where I'm doing good. Here's another area that was really great. I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. I shared this as one of my new goals. Is I'm trying to read 100 books this year, which is absolutely insane for me. I had always tried to read about 50. I wanted to read a book a week kind of thing. And this year I was doing better with my reading. I'm not traveling as much, and so I've had more time to do some reading as we've developed content and stuff. I was trying to write better, and I ran across this statement by a pretty prolific author. She said the best writers are readers. I've always heard readers are leaders and leaders are readers, and you got to be reading all that kind of stuff. But I never heard anybody say the best writers are readers. I mean, I know that makes sense, but I thought I need to read more books, and I started reading these books, and I am now, as of today, I've just finished book number 32 for the year today. So that's really good for me. I've always set the goal of 50 and never make it. I always get about 48 or 44, something like that. And always fall a little bit short. So I'm on pace for 120 right now. I'm going to try to hit 100 this year. That's going to be kind of cool. I'm learning. I spend an hour a week trying to learn on masterclass. I mean, some of these things you're looking for personal growth. We've been talking about that and chasing greatness the last few weeks. I'm trying to spend an hour a week. I missed 1 week that I didn't make my hour. And so I'm just trying to go through a class on masterclass. It's one of the things I have a subscription access to that. And so trying to do that every week. And so I'm just trying to do some things to help myself grow personally and professionally. I just find, my wife even said this today earlier, we were talking, and she said, the older I get, the more I realize I don't know. And I feel that way so much. It's like the older I get, the more I realize I need to learn. I want to learn. And so learning is a choice. You may be, going, man, the first quarter, I didn't spend any time in books and I didn't spend any time learning. And maybe your goal is not a class or on master class. Maybe it's you're taking a class at school, or maybe you're, going through some kind of curriculum. It's a formal thing. You're trying to finish up a degree or whatever. Maybe it's an assignment that your supervisor is giving you at work, and you're just finding, all kind of excuses and things. I challenge you to really push into those areas where you get a chance to grow and do that. There's some places like my Bible reading and my book reading where you could just go, you know what, this goal was not high enough at the beginning of the year. I wasn't really going to have to give my best to hit that. And so rather than just saying I'm going to settle for, satisfied, I'm actually going to double down and let's go for something. As I said a few weeks ago, let's find these areas where we have control and let's run up the score in these areas. And so it's something I'm trying to do there. But there's some other places where I'm going, this is not working. I had a kind of a, I won't call it a vision, but I had envisioned, I guess I would say, writing a bunch of ebooks around some of the things that we did in the 21 days course. I'm recalibrating that now. We've actually created another course or two that we're working on, and we're doing some things with our business that we work with companies and teams, and we help people grow a leadership culture and all those kind of things. And so we're working on some digital content there, as well as some other things that'll help them grow their leaders. And so that's caused me to have to, if you do one thing, you choose to do one thing, sometimes you got to let another thing go. And I'll give you a perfect example. I just about a month ago, after, I don't know, however many years it's been, but I just dropped Netflix. I let it go. I totally dropped Netflix. We had a couple other subscription services that we had for media and all that kind of stuff. And man, and nothing against Netflix, but I just wasn't finding any value there. And I thought, if I'm going to spend more time with this and that, I need to let go of something else. And so for me, I had to let go of Netflix. Just one example, again, not picking on Netflix, but there may be something you need to let go of so you can pick something else up. You can only hold so many things in one hand. If we had a bunch of golf balls lying here, you could pick up 5 or 6 of them. Probably, if your hand's big enough, you could pick up a few of those. But there comes a point where you can't fit any more. So you got to let some go to be able to pick another one up. And so in your life right now, as you're getting ready to go into quarter number 2 or the second 100 days of the year, if you think of it that way, what do you need to let go? What do you need to lay down right now so you can pick something else up? Where do you need to push your goals up? Where do you need to, give yourself a kick in the pants? I mean, there's a couple of things I'm looking at right now going, man, I got to see here. I need to raise that up to, it's passing, but it's my goal this year is not to pass. My goal this year is to have my best year ever. So I'm guessing there's some places where you need to have a meeting with yourself, and that's my challenge for you today as we kind of wind this down. You're 100 days into your year, just a couple days. I think Saturday will be day number 100. What would it look like for you to schedule maybe a 90-minute meeting with yourself? You would pull out your plan, or if you don't have a plan, you just begin to create a plan. Or if you don't have a plan, I'll give a little plug here. Go get the 21 days to your best year ever. It will help you create a whole framework to build your life around, to build a blueprint for your life, to help you think through some of these things that we're talking about, so you can have your best 100 days you've ever had. This 100 days coming up. That's my goal. Is like, how can I have a better 100 days these next 100 than I did the last 100? And then as you begin to think through some of these things, maybe on Saturday, you set this meeting up with yourself, go ahead and put it on your calendar. You sit down, you get a legal pad out, you pull your plan out, and you just create a little report card. How am I doing? Are there things here that are measurable? There should be. You know, what gets measured really does get done. And I want to challenge you to really go back and say, how am I doing? Like, where am I dropping the ball? Where do I need to run up the score in some areas? Where do I need to double down on some of these goals? And give yourself permission to stretch and grow and get better. And then also give yourself the gift of some accountability. You know, if you need to have somebody look you in the face every week and say, how are you doing on this? You may need to set that up. I've got some people that are helping hold me accountable to some things. And I don't want to just, again, wing it and hope things are going to get better, hope that I'm going to reach my potential. When you are chasing greatness, complacency really will be your biggest competition. If you're not careful, again, you will be satisfied. And the best people I know are not satisfied with mediocrity. They're not satisfied with average. They are reaching for their best. They are indeed chasing greatness. When you do that, it positions you to help someone else be great. It positions you to add value. So again, I hope you'll take these questions that we talked about today, why you're here, and do you have the energy you need, and does your work matter, and what are you doing to grow yourself, some of those kind of things. Are you flexing courage in your life? And as you begin to think through these things, evaluate these things, I'm just convinced that your life is going to be richer and fuller. Your bank account's probably going to look better. Your body's going to be stronger. And the people around you are going to benefit from your investment in yourself, knowing that you're not doing it just for yourself. You're doing it actually for others. And when you get to lend your strength to the people around you, it's really cool for you to be able to do that. And so I know you're adding value where you are. Keep chasing greatness. It's awesome. And we'll continue this conversation. I got a couple of special things we're going to do here in the month of April. It'll be some fun that we'll have together. You can help me out, if you would, by spreading this. Share it with 2 or 3 people. Just say, hey, you need to listen to this. And we need to get on this journey together where we can make sure our next 100 days are our best 100 days. Or we keep growing every time. And as we get to halftime, we'll be able to recalibrate. And then, honestly, the second half of this year, I'm just totally convinced this is going to be a fantastic second half to 2021. Or at least that's my prayer. That's my hope. That's my belief. And I'm going to keep pushing myself toward it, and I hope you'll do the same. Let's keep chasing greatness. I'll see you next week.